Okay, well, I'll read these last three and see if anyone jumps up. 455. Well, yes, indeed. Okay.
They never called me. That's weird. Okay. So I'm Paul Hempel. I live in Ophir, just down the road a piece, and I've lived here about 9 years now. And I do have some other experiences. I lived in New York City for a long time and Boston, but prefer to be here now. I am very concerned about healthcare. It's a huge problem. I'm 71 years old. I'm not sure I can live here a long time because the healthcare is terrible here. So my husband is much younger than me, and the result is we went to visit the kids this week. I got sick, got admitted to the hospital, everything's taken care of. If he had gotten the same illness, we would be $25,000 down. Because he has his own business and he's on regular insurance. It's a situation that just is not tolerable in this country. And it's going to drive the country even further apart if it isn't fixed. And you guys got to fix it.
462. Okay, with that point, and you know, I was thinking back to when we first moved up to Port. My dad was a mechanic. He was a millwright in Riddle, south of Roseburg, and the mill shut down. Moved to Roseburg. He built houses. He worked on equipment in the woods. Always a mechanic in some fashion, and as he put it, he was very good at building houses and terrible at selling them. And so he said, well, I've got small kids, I need more stable work. So took a job as a mechanic on heavy equipment that's used on highways and used in the woods, but the shop was in Portland. So moved north. Hugely stressful for my mother because she came from a town of 200. You always talked about how people in big cities don't watch out for each other. She was just really stressed over the experience and needed medical help. And my father and I went down with a roll, I was in second grade, and a roll of dimes and started calling doctors out of the phone book at the corner market to try to find a doctor who would get her in and be of assistance. And that was my first introduction to healthcare challenges in America. We do have a lot of work to do. I want to come back to this one piece that I feel is absolutely fixable, which is the drug pricing. I've had so many people in town halls compare what they're paying to what they would pay in Canada or Mexico or anywhere in Europe or New Zealand or Australia or Japan. And sometimes it's a factor of 50%, sometimes it's a factor of 500%, sometimes it's a factor of 10 times or more. And this is an example of the corruption of our political system. We spend more as Americans on research that produces more drugs than any other nation, more than the Europeans, more than the Canadians, and all the rest put together. And we should get the best prices on drugs, not the worst. And if we can't fix that, how are we going to take on the stickier, more complex things? President Trump mentioned his interest in what's referred to as a reference bill. And he summed it up by saying, we shouldn't pay more than any other developed country. Amen. So I had my team contact his team. I have a reference bill. It says we don't pay more than the average price among Canada, Japan, Australia, and the major European countries. And then the president decided not to pursue it. But the point is, rural, urban, DER, we're all getting ripped off together. Let's fix it together as one piece of a down payment on a better health care system. I would like to see an ethic develop in America where everybody running for the House or Senate committed to doing town halls like this. Yeah. Incredibly valuable. So thank you for being engaged. Thank you for turning out. Tomorrow morning I'll have my 400th town hall. And that's a lot of conversations. A lot of people want to see. And I just feel so many ideas come out of the pre-meeting with electeds, commissioners, city commissioners, port authorities, and school boards, and then the conversation with all of you. So thank you for engaging about these many, many issues we face. There is the person who invented the word, the American Dream. He wrote a book, and he wanted to title it The American Dream. His publisher said, nobody will like that phrase, so his book is not titled that. But he says in it, in every generation, Americans have to come together to renew the spirit on which our nation is founded, and reclaim that vision. And I'm not sure he said we the people vision, but that's, I guess, my way of summary. The vision of a nation run by and for the people. Let's do that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We had a great turnout tonight on the town hall, and this is the best of America. People coming together with a variety of perspectives, sharing them, doing it in a very civil manner, informative manner. And I must say, if we're going to restore democracy in our democratic republic, we need a lot more of this kind of dialogue, people coming together to solve problems. So thanks for the great turnout tonight.
I'm Commissioner Martha Schrader from Clackamas County, Oregon. I'm the current president of the Association of Oregon Counties. Oh my goodness, I've been president for 1 year, but I've been a member of the Association of Oregon.
Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is February 19th at 9 a.m. If you would please rise with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody got your mics? Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone here this morning. If you would, Commissioner Bush, you have a casualty line of duty report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here it is, third weekend to February. We're up to 20. You may recall in 2019 is 134 line of duty deaths for police officers in the U.S. of A. Fallen heroes is quite a dramatic jump from 2 to 9 in just 2 months on our military deaths. Line of duty deaths for firefighters up just 1 to 10. So I heard a wife of a law enforcement officer say the greatest sound in the world is at night when her husband comes home is the sound of Velcro, meaning he came home safe. So if we could, Chair Pash, just offer a moment of silence for those that we have lost in the country in their service. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I actually do have some.
Okay.
So, just looking at the back of the agenda, when you get to item G, 8G, it's an order entering a contract for a loan. There were two items submitted. One was an order accepting the loan, and another one was entering into the contract. So part of that was omitted from the packet, so you do have it in front of you, okay? So we'll just add that to that. So kind of like a 8G, A and B maybe, or 1 and 2, however we want to
Okay.
do that. And then for executive session number 11, the first one, which was 192.660, parent 2 parent, parent F parent. The party that wanted us to discuss that isn't able to be here today, so we'll pull that one.
Okay. Well, we do have parent 2, parent H, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'll submit also the Sheriff Ward will not be here today to accept the awards, service award, so we'll pull that from the agenda. Presentations 5A. Anything further? May I have a motion, please?
I move we accept the agenda as amended.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? JJ, you're on.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, we're going to do some public comments here to start with. Miss Lori Lyons, you're first.
Well, my name is Lori Lyons.
Need to be at the microphone, please. And just so you know, and I'm not going to actually put a hard time limit on this, but we'd like to keep everyone's comments to about 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that gives me a little more than I thought I had, so. My name is Lori Lyons, and I represent these CASA people right here. And there was a letter that you were all sent that I saw from Margolis. Excuse me if I...
Judge Margolis. Yes.
Judge Margolis. And I think in that letter, it kind of represented everything that we've been feeling. And I know that you're aware of the situation because of that letter. So what we're here today to do is to ask the commissioners if you could bring back CASA from Douglas County back to Curry County. So it used to sit in Curry County a long time ago, and then Douglas County took it over. So I have a couple little handouts here that I'd like to go over, because the first thing...
You can't talk while you're away from the microphone. For public record, I'm sorry, it just has to be, everything
I
has to
got
be
you.
recorded
No, I
for
got
public
you.
record. That's fine.
That'll be
Thank you.
fine.
So the first thought I would have is, sitting on the commission board would be, it's the first of the year, we don't want to take on a new project. What about funding? It costs money. How are we going to make this work? So what you'll see is that first page in there is a operating statement that we've put together. We feel that those numbers are really accurate. The attachment to that is the SOCOP. That event raises about $30,000 by itself. It's in May. So we would like to kind of resolve this very quickly. The other packet that's in there are the letters from Douglas County and Curry County back in 2012 when it went from Curry County to Douglas County, okay? Last night we met, probably 15 of the 20 CASA representatives were there, and we have a general consensus, and we feel that this is the right thing to do, not just because it's in the community that we live in, but it doesn't make any sense that Douglas County has that authority over Curry County. It seems like we should be able to have our own monies, have our own funding, have our own participation. Mona Chandler has done a lot for the CASA, and we would like to bring her back as the person that would represent all of us, the CASA people out there. There are lots of little kids out there that need help, and they're kind of going to lose this, because if you have, I have some letters here from all of, well, not all of, but some of the people that couldn't be here today, and you get a general tone of what everybody's feeling through those letters. And we need your guys' help to step in and help us. So that's what we're asking for, is your help. We're asking that it be done kind of quickly. I know you guys have a full agenda, but we're losing a lot of ground. It's been 2 weeks since the termination of the office in Curry County, and a lot has already slipped through the cracks.
Can we possibly schedule this for a workshop for next week?
Yeah.
I think that'd be the soonest we can get to it, and if you
Okay.
could maybe attend the workshop,
Yep.
that would be great, because we could kind of
Yeah,
all
that's
sit
really what
together.
we're asking for, so
Mr.
that's
Boyce?
wonderful.
I hope we can just put it on the agenda and have a very clear picture of what we want to propose to the state, the local people, to the Douglas County people, and bypass the workshop would be right now my preference. Just losing more time could be a.
Well, but we need to see how it's going to be structured and everything, and having, you know,
Yeah, we need to know what type of people, where to place it. I mean, there's a lot that we do have to look at, so.
and you're only talking
I
about
agree, though,
a
Court.
week, though. So you're talking about an
One extra week.
Yeah.
Workshop and then the following meeting,
Yep.
which would be in March.
We can all work together and sit at a workshop until it's hammered out. I'll sit there 18 hours if we have to.
Great.
Let's get it done and get it back on the agenda.
Perfect. Maybe we can invite the Douglas County people.
Commissioner, we could actually do a special meeting right after the workshop if you're concerned about the time.
Great idea. Wish I'd have thought of that.
There we go.
All right, so who do we find out when the meeting would be held?
Ms. Schmelzer will let you know, but it'll also be on the website, the county website for that meeting.
Great.
It'll be the next week's workshop, next Wednesday's workshop. It'll be on the agenda.
Great.
I will also need to talk to the spokesperson or whoever, so we can get as much details worked out before we actually go into the workshop.
Okay.
That's good.
So how do I give you my contact information?
Once you write on a little piece of paper, and flip it
Okay.
to me.
All right. Thank you very much.
Tk you.
for your
Thank
time.
you.
Sorry about that, Court. Sorry about that.
What?
You were in a hurry. I didn't mean
Next
to-
we have David Barnes. Pass, okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to presentations. Rogue Federal Credit Union, Rush Surgery Center buildings in Brookings. Commissioner Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, first I want to mention that this is not something that I'm promoting as a good idea. I want to bring before the board to see if there's interest in just the research. Director Schmelzer, myself, others have done some different work on the concept of could we save the county funds? Make it easier for the citizens to have access in Brookings. That's where between 60 and 63% of our population is. There's a couple great buildings. They're both, coincidentally, as you know, I think you know, are about 9,000 square feet. One is in Brookings, one is in Harbor. My proposal to research is could the, without, you obviously have to assess any kind of risk, but you simply look at these buildings, say, could the road department funds purchase these buildings and then gather enough activity to justify a better return for their investment? Right now it's at 2% or a little less, I think. And would it be very productive? Would it be available to the citizens down there? Yes, I'm a little concerned about what's going on in Harbor. As I mentioned a couple meetings ago, no supermarkets left, no banks in that community, and there's going to be a lot of highway, and I have some information on that. I won't go into it today, but a lot of really good projects between the Checka River Bridge and the California-Oregon border. I think it could put the county in a good position. There's not a lot of market or demand for these commercial buildings right now, I don't think. We do have one proposal on the Rush Surgery Center that I'm glad to give the board if there's interest there, and just take a look. It may be an idea that has no merit. It may be an idea that has a lot of merit. We're renting a sheriff's substation at this time. We're renting the Veterans Building. Either one of these entities may look at property we have in trade. The loan to appraised value would be acceptable, I think. So I'm just asking the board: is there sufficient interest in even taking a look at this? Maybe the timing's not good. Maybe it's here's an aerial view. Both of them, by the way, have really good parking. So we've got some different floor plans here. So we've done some of the homework at this point in time. The Rush Surgery Center has 2.5 or 3 levels, basically. Quality office space. I think it would be better for our employees to go down there 1 or 2 days a week. I don't know how it'd be structured. I haven't put a lot of thought into that. I've not had a chance to talk yet to Roadmaster Christensen. This is the Harbor Rogue Federal, large building, Rogue Federal Credit Union. Here's an adjacent piece of property that they have right next to it. So there's 2 potential properties there. I've been in this building 3 times now. We've had facilities maintenance, our staff look at the structure, and there's 1 roof leak, but basically they're in very good condition. So FedEx is over just out of the picture here. That's there's a lot of other commercial buildings down in the harbor area. Could it be an economic boost? Those questions would need to be, here's the floor plan for the Rogue Credit Union. But those questions, yes, would have to be answered before we really want to take a serious look. So just asking if the board might want to qualify or legitimize the staff time and the administration that would be required. Vacant, both of them vacant now, both buildings. This is back to a couple of photos inside the Rush Surgery Center. Back to RFCU. Oh, and then we're on our Port Orford project. So that's all I have for now, Mr. Chair. So I'm looking for consensus if the board would be interested in having staff take a little deeper look at this.
Commissioner Gold?
I would have to say I would have to definitely know numbers before I jump on to any bandwagon on this, because the county is kind of in a precarious position at this point. So there would have to be a strong justification for me to go ahead with this. I don't mind studying it. I don't know how much staff time it would take. So that has to be considered also.
I know I've spoken with Dr. Rush about the Rush Center, and actually Director Schmelzer and I went down and viewed it with him one day. Of the 2 buildings, I know the banks, they want out of their real estate. They're not in business to own real estate. So I know, I believe the bank, Umpqua Bank up in Port Orford, donated that bank to those people, to the group that's in there now.
Yeah.
So I know that some of the banks are willing to donate their property. They get a tax write-off for it, so they're willing to donate rather than purchase. If you were to look at that property, we might want to take that avenue with them and see if they'd be willing to donate it to the county. The Rush Center, I think, would be the better of the 2 buildings, even though it's so much bigger.
Say that again, please. The Rush Surgery Center?
The Rush Surgery Center, I think, would be the better of the 2 buildings for a county to own, because it's so diverse, and you could sublet a lot of that space out to other organizations, and also maybe the possibility of having to own public health and mental health services. It's already set up for a lot of that in the building, so that would be a huge push to go toward that building. But I don't know what Dr. Rush's numbers are. I think that the 2 of them, they're going to have their pluses and minuses. I think the bank property, we could probably get a much better negotiated purchase price on, if not donated. The Rush Center, I believe, is a better property for the county because it's so diverse and there's so much square footage that you could, again, sublet part of it out. But the numbers on that, I think, I don't know if the county could afford the building. So, and I know Dr. Rush also said he could do it in a lease to own, in steps and those kind of things. So those are all things for a future conversation. Do I think it's worth looking at? Absolutely, because we don't know what kind of deal we can make. Do I think it's probably something that we're going to be able to seriously pursue in the next year? Probably not. But again, those are things that you know, our road credit may say, hey, you know what? If you're willing to give us a full write-off, we'll donate it to the county. That could happen quickly. Then we don't know. So.
And that's been discussed with Pat Piper, the realtor, one of the realtors, and I don't think that's likely, but the approach that you're identifying there and what kind of deal might be available, again, how much demand for commercial property that size in Harbor right now. So I think that is something to take a serious look at. I just want the public to know there's no bandwagon here. There's just should we take a serious look at this? I think your comment, Chair Pash, that inside of a year, probably a realistic outlook, but what I'm hearing is there is a consensus, at least preliminarily, to justify the staff time to take a little deeper dive on this. And I do have a presentation that Dr. Rush has offered the board. And he was also, his party was also primarily interested in at least taking a look at other properties that could be traded. Mm-hmm. So, and also your reminder of the public health, all that's involved with that, might possibly be a good fit. So I think the more homework we do, I think the better off we can serve the citizens here. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So we're going to move on with at least looking into it then. Ms. Schmelzer?
Sure.
Okay.
So we have agreement on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank
All right,
you.
next we have presentation for Port Orford, long-term update and long-term plans, Commissioner Boyce.
Well, I'm pretty excited here. You know, this, thanks, Eric. We're starting at the beginning. I'm going to say my great-great-great-uncle in the 1850s, William Tishner, discovered this port, his most unique port. Of course, it didn't have the long finger of the jetty put in by the Army Corps of Engineers about 40 years ago, but this is one of the most unique ports, if not the most unique, in the western United States. I had a friend remind me that Curry County is a frontier, and the more I think about that, the more I like the concept, the more I think it rings true. But this port is what they call, and you saw my agenda routing slip on this, but this port is somewhat protected, but anytime you go out in the ocean and commercial fish, even from this port, the courage that those people have. And 2 years ago I did a report when we lost 3 fishermen on the Charleston Bay. 2 of them coincidentally were from Port Orford. And I remember David Brock-Smith being here. He knew both of those men that drowned. And so anything that the board can do to contribute safety and planning and dealing with state and federal representatives, finding funds, just the workforce to continue on this great tradition, I think would be good to do. Oh yes, I pulled these off the website, but I'm proud of them. It's just, it's a special place. All of our ports are, and it's a great source of pride. I went to the Port Commission meeting in Port Orford last night. Well received. Been to all the port meetings in the last month or so, and same on the city council. And I just keep learning more and more, and it's rather humbling. Oop, going the wrong arrow. Sorry, guys. This breakwater is just amazing. Some of the abuse it takes from the winter storms. Here's Battle Rock. And when I was a kid, you always went to Port Orford for 4th of July. You always went to Gold Beach for the county fair, and you always went to Brooklyn for the Azalea Festival in May. So it was just an incredible tradition. And yeah, my great-great-great-uncle founded Port Orford and named Gold Beach originally Ellensburg after his oldest daughter, later changed to Gold Beach. But he battled the Native Americans and thoroughly got his backside beat a couple of times. This is Battle Rock right here. One of the best, public access spots along the Oregon coast for the beach. the famous Battle Rock. Hasn't been that great a crab season. This was taken just a couple months ago, just before crab season was to start. Again, the hard work involved. These cranes are World War II vintage. Each one of them is rated to 25 tons or 50,000 pounds. And the port has done an incredible job keeping those serviceable over the years. All the years that I had tour boats, I can't imagine the 20, 30, 40-foot boats. Every time I come into the dock, I'd had to been in position to the details of pulling it out of the water every time. And that's what they do here. This is back in October. This is Tom Calvanese and Chris Harder from Oregon Business. They're talking about the purple urchin you see in his hand right there. Tom Calvanese is one of the port commissioners, and they are destroying our kelp. So it's, as you are aware, a major issue for the health of the entire ocean. So we're watching this very close. Steve Courtier, Chris, and Tom Calvanese again talking about plans. Business Oregon has been very helpful to the Port Orford, and that was the origination of the $1.6 million that come through the state legislature, David Brock Smith, Dallas Hurd, to the Port of Port Orford back in October. The famous rock on the northwest corner. The $1.6 million is going to go for this new structure here, not just this new structure, but there'll be retail shops, there'll be restaurants, there'll be fish processing, just offering the public kind of an outlook on what the plans are and what the vision is for the port. This will be a tower that if they go, there's a couple different options on the site. They're not exactly sure where we're going to put this, but they're getting closer to that decision. And this would be an elevator that go up, and you'd be able to see clear around to the Coast Guard section on the further northwest. Two more photos, Mr. Chair. This is looking straight from the dock, kind of northwest. And this is the big rock. This is the layout for the new building. The second location would be right here. And the concern there is the soil stable enough? It's right down on sea level. So also I serve on the Oregon Coastal Zone Management. We're going to have our meeting. I've asked them to come to Port Orford on the 13th of June. We'll take them upriver on Thursday, and then we'll have an all-day meeting, including we'll meet on Friday. We'll meet at the Port Orford Library, and we'll have a tour of the port for all those members. And so we're looking forward to that. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next we have the consent agenda. 6A would be minutes for November 6th, 2019 business meeting. 6B, minutes December 18th, 2019 business meeting. C, minutes January 15th, 2020 business meeting. D, environmental health coordinator job description. E, environmental health specialist job description. F, administrative assistant public health job description. And G, women, infants, children, which is the WIC program coordinator job description. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Discussion?
Do I have a second? I'll second. Further discussion? Commissioner Boyce?
Yeah, I just want to make sure the public knows that we're, as I understand, we're getting some significant help from the state of Oregon on some of the cost of these employees, and I just want to have that verified and what portion, just in a general sense.
Sure. With the public health programs, what happens with the environmental health two positions on there is the fees and licensing actually pays for those positions. Mm-hmm. And then with the administrative assistant and the WIC coordinator positions, we do get funds. Part of that administrative assistant position actually has, they get funded partially, in part with the environmental health fees and in part with the WIC fees. And then as far as the WIC coordinator, that one we get money from the state for that position. So there really shouldn't be much of an impact on the budget as far as this goes. We do have to provide space, we do have to provide computers for them, but as far as these positions right here, they're basically covered by either state fees or our own licenses and fees that we have established.
I want to read something real quick, just take a moment. It's
Okay.
related to this. A note I sent to Dana Drum. Our board is all very familiar with her. Good day, Ms. Drum. Just a note, send a big thank you. And I want the public to know why, I think it'll make sense why I want to read this letter as we proceed forward and try and build our foundation and get public health back in order, to the extent that it was dumped in our laps, and we're taking a very aggressive approach to get those problems resolved. But to Ms. Drum, just a note, send a big thank you for all your help to Curry County. From your first trip down here to Southwest Oregon, it's been apparent your commitment to do everything possible to help our citizens. We hope you come out and as we move forward in overcoming the difficulties in CertWell, we know at some point soon you'll be traveling here and leaving with a big smile. So I just want to read a couple sentences of her response. Thanks so much for your kind words. You have a great team in Julie and Cherie, and we enjoy working with them. Last sentence, I'm skipping some here, and I'm confident the county's on the right track, and in 6 months, we'll all look back and say, wow, look how far Curry County has come. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but to have the state with that kind of support, that kind of assistance and management and recognition and simple work gives me a lot of optimism. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me. I just realized that the job description you had on for 6F was the draft, and that was revised. We were really trying to make our 5 o'clock deadline on Friday, so we just sent a draft in there, and then it was finalized yesterday. So I realized you don't have the final to act on that. So let's just move 6F to the end of the meeting and take that up probably right before higher orders, if it's not too late to change that.
So I'll amend my motion
Okay.
to take out 6F, and we'll put it towards the end of the meeting.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash,
Aye.
motion carried unanimously.
All right. We have an 11 o'clock public hearing, but we're way in front of that, so we're going to move on to discussion items. 8A, resolution finalizing the Brookings Head Start program. Council Huddle.
Oh, thank you. So this is part of the grant procedure, and we put out a notice for public comment, and it's talking about the Brookings Head Start. It talks about the people that we served with the project, and really we're just here to, are you saying this is the Brookings Head Start?
Yes?
Yes, and so we're actually supposed to do this after the public hearing. So if you see...
So do you want to move the public hearing up to now? We can't, though. It's
Correct.
done at
We
11 o'clock.
should just come back to this one.
Okay. I don't know how the...
Is that part of the public hearing?
So the idea was to have the resolution after the public hearing. That's how they are sequenced on the agenda, and that's how they get sequenced in the procedure. So we do the public hearing first. So I would just recommend continuing this item till after the public hearing on the matter.
All right. Next, we're going to move to 8B, amending the personal rules, Article 19. Ms. Swift. Did Ms. Swift leave? I saw her here a minute ago. I saw you here a minute ago, so I didn't know you left.
Julie Swift, Payroll and HR. One of the provisions that we have in our personnel rules is to allow people to receive donated sick time from other employees who, if they required extended leave, OFLO-FEMLO type of leave, and they've exhausted all their leave time. Right now, the provision is the donating employee has to have at least 240 hours to be able to donate. With the departure of a lot of long-term employees, new employees don't have that much time built up, and they want to be able to donate. So what you have before you is two options for the personnel rules. to change that minimum either to 180 hours to be able to donate or 140 hours to donate. Right now, this only affects non-represented employees and employees of the road department, because the road department doesn't have the specifics in their contract, so it rolls to the personnel rules. If you drop the minimum to 180 hours to donate, that adds one person into the mix. If you drop it to 140, it adds 6 people available to donate in this situation. So the option for you is, if you want to do this at all, and then if you want to drop the minimum to 140 or 180 hours to be able to donate to other employees.
Commissioner Gold?
Do you have a recommendation as far as 180, 140?
Well, in my opinion, in order to make it worthwhile, you would drop it to 140 to make the pool of employees to be able to donate a little bit bigger. It's still going to be up to those employees if they want to. It's all done voluntary and without coercion or any pressure. And then it's something that we can look at in the Teamsters and the SEIU contracts when we come into negotiations with them.
And this is something not for vacation and all that, so the public's aware. This is for employees that may have something serious that they're going through that's going to be more time than their current allotted leave time for health issues.
Right, and it has to be a FEMLA OFA eligible leave, so it's not like just they have a cold and they're out for a couple days and donate some time. It's an extended leave for a serious health condition.
Well, I move that we bring the amount of hours down to 140 so that people could donate if they chose to do so.
Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Aye.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. I will amend the personnel rules and send it out to all employees.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood.
Next is 8C, order authorizing contract outside legal services. Council Huddle.
Oh, thank you. Really nothing to talk about on this, and it's just a contract on file. I think you've all seen it, and so it's just an order approving that contract, not to exceed $15,000.
Okay. I don't see the order, or I see the order, but I don't see the contract in here.
Right. The
It is
contract's
clear,
on
though, it's
file.
not to exceed 15,000?
Yes.
Okay.
This was sent around individually to the commissioners by separate email.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the order authorizing the contract outside legal services.
Do I have a second?
I'll second with discussion.
Further discussion?
Just this is what we've inherited from this public health issue, and so I want the public to know it's another surprise cost that I don't see how we can avoid. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
8D, authorize the roadmaster to move forward with GRI Report Alternative 1 design to repair the FEMA project on Ridge Road with Dyer Partnership Engineering Task Order number 14B. Mr. Christensen. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. Richard Christensen, Curry County Road Department. I'm here to ask the board to authorize the roadmaster to move forward with the FEMA repairs on Gardner Ridge. And we have 3 alternatives ranging from $280,000 to over $500,000 for this repair. And working with FEMA, South Coast Lumber, and we would like the board to approve alternative 1 because it's the most local contractor friendly and it's the least the lower cost alternative. And our thought is that we would get Dyer engineering this. Their task order is not to exceed $59,930, and we'd get this out to bid in April, May this year for construction this summer.
2 things. Firstly, we've got the easements through South Coast already done, from what I see?
No, they're not already done, but they support that, and I haven't, Dyer would, part of this task order 14B would, Dyer would complete these easement documents for signature by South Coast Lumber.
Okay, second question is 75% of this is given back to the county from FEMA, correct?
Correct. By the time this project is completed with staff time and engineering, it's going to be around $500,000. So out of pocket for the road department would be about $125,000 worth. The balance coming back, being paid by FEMA.
I would just like to give you and your department kudos. I don't know if the public knows much about Mr. Christensen, but he does a lot of work here in the county, and he works extremely hard on getting FEMA money and road department money refunded back to the county on these, on the awards for getting, the state and the federal government to pay back to the county a lot of money. So props to you guys for everything you do, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know you've been holding your breath through this winter, and I've been up there several times, and just a reminder that those are the families that were affected by the fire, and several homes lost. And there's only one way in and one way out, which is why you've been really diligent on this, and just greatly appreciated. To something as simple as the sandbags, the pre-work you did to hold that one lane. And I wish we had pictures for the public, but if that would have washed out, certainly not from lack of attention and maintenance, if that would have washed out, they would have had no way in or out. And so pretty scary time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the roadmaster to go forward with the bridge at the $500,000 level, with FEMA paying $125,000.
Is that option one?
Yes,
Thank
that's
you.
option.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash,
Aye.
motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Just
sir.
got to hold one more month for the rain, so got our fingers crossed.
All right, next we have E, proposed 2021 fiscal year budget schedule. Director Schmelzer.
Okay, so we have to adopt a budget calendar of when we're going to have our meetings and when we're going to get things published. So what you have before you is the proposed calendar. We will be looking at actually doing something a little different this year. We would start out with April 20th would be actually a kickoff where we would actually have the budget committee tour some of the locations and projects where we're asking for funding for. So, for example, we know that we're probably going to have to do some work in an elevator. So we'd want them to ride up and down that elevator. Or if there's work in the jail, we'd want them to tour the jail. So we're going to do that to kind of help the budget committee better understand why we are requesting funds for certain projects. And then we have 3 days set aside for the budget committee meetings. They would start on April 21st. Hopefully we would be done the first day, maybe the second day, and not need the third day, but we still have to put that in there just in case we do run over. So the managers do have a different calendar, just so you are aware of that. Their calendar talks about when their proposals are due for, let's say, maintenance issues or vehicles. That also includes things such as the meetings with the consultant or the publication deadlines. That's not in your calendars. Yours is pretty simplified. So we just need approval on that if you're okay with the schedule.
I have a. Oh, go ahead.
Commissioner Boyd or Gold.
I just want to mention, and this is, I really have to emphasize this, we are paying our person to do the budget by the hour, so it's going to be really important that we are very, very concise and organized. We can't be just wandering off, talk.
I agree.
Council Huddle.
Thank you. I'm just looking at the actual budget calendar itself, and it's got the budget process is the budget committee has the public hearings and approves a budget for the board to then have hearings on and approve, and I don't see that part here. We go from April 23rd, 2020, and then submit tax levies and appropriation resolutions to the county assessor on July 15th. And I'm wondering where the board action is on its hearings and approval of the budget in here. And I know it says we have a budget consultant, and that person can't start until March, so maybe we're going to have a revised after that person gets here to put in the board dates. I'm just want to check on that.
Right, and you are correct, Council Huddle. Those do show up on that manager calendar that I do have here. I could tell you what we tentatively have scheduled for those right now. And we can come back and add those after we actually agree with the proposal for the consultant if you want. I can tell you what is tentatively scheduled for that right now if you're interested in that, or I can come back with.
Just send us an email. How's
Okay.
that?
All right. So the budget calendar, though, like I said, so you'd have your kickoff on the 20th. The first budget committee meeting would be the 21st. As far as the public hearings, we would actually have the budget hearing itself is scheduled right now for June 15th, 2020. And if it helps, we can just add that right onto the calendar. So it's very clear when that is scheduled.
Commissioner
So
Boyce?
we don't have to come back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's simple, it's preliminary, it's well organized. I'd like to make a motion that for fiscal year 2021, we approve this budget calendar schedule.
I'm just looking at my calendar right now to make sure I'm good.
And how about if we just add in the budget hearing date, just so it's very clear? So
And
we
that
don't
was
have to come
6
back.
what?
So
It
you
would
won't-
be June 15th.
Okay.
But I haven't seen that part yet.
Yeah, that one's just for.
And that's a Monday?
I'm good on all those days so far. So
So do I need to change my motion or amend that to
No,
include?
it's good.
No, as long as yes.
Okay. So to add the amended with
The budget
identified
hearing
with
date.
discussion on the hearing dates, yes.
I'll second that.
further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes?
Chair Pash.
All right.
Motion carried unanimously.
F is contract with financial consultant Summer Sears CPA LLC budget for fiscal year 2021. Mr. Melzer.
Okay, so because we do not have a finance director, we are contracting out for someone to prepare the budget for us. And I did call around, met with a couple different people. The one that was willing to actually come in and help us on such short notice and to do a lot of it remotely was a woman by the name of Summer Sears. She actually has her own consulting firm. She does some consulting with other jurisdictions right now. She was willing to help us. She would be able to start in March. The price was $11,600 with travel. She is going to try and do everything remotely if possible. And so we would just be looking for you to approve that contract, and then I would let her know, and then I would let her know that the calendar was approved as well, so she would know when to start.
I have a couple of questions. I see she's fully indemnified, but we're waiving insurance. Is she bonded?
I am not sure about that. I actually put in waiving the insurance because it was our product. It was our budget, and we are reviewing it and approving it.
Okay.
So I just took the insurance out of it.
Most CPAs, I believe, that do outside work, they're at least bonded and of course offer indemnification. And I see that she's at least done the indemnification, but I don't have a problem with this other than I'd like to know if she's bonded. That'd be great to know. Commissioner Gold, did you?
My only concern on this is we've estimated 11,000 and change. And again, I'm going to reiterate that it's so important that we are organized and we do most of the work here so that when she comes into the mix, we are ready.
So I can just add a little input on that. So what we have done so far is staff has been working on the worksheets, and then I have actually emailed out to all the department heads already saying, start thinking about what you need. They were actually, today's their deadline to actually get me some items. Shows up on our manager calendar as April 20th that they're due, but so I could start looking through them and making sure that Rich has the numbers for me on if there's vehicles, or that maintenance has the numbers for me on construction projects. That we can look through and say, you know, you don't need 3 people to go to this conference, let's cut it back to 1 person, or looking at some of those details. So they were given a list of what they needed to get to me so we could make sure that most of that work is done ahead of time. The way Summer and I have talked about it is I would go through and get it whittled down, and then I would go sit with the department looking at the budget, and she would be on the phone, and we would talk through some of these things or the areas that there were concerns with. Most of it, to be honest with you, is going to be pretty straightforward. I think there's so far not a lot of changes have been presented to me for the budgets. One of the biggest challenges we have is going to be personnel, because we're doing a wage study, so we may have to come back and tweak some of those numbers. But that really that's not involving the department. That's more with HR and the consultant going back and forth, making sure they're revising those numbers. And that can all be done remotely as well.
Commissioner Boyce?
You want to go first?
No.
Thank you. Aren't you basically doing the work of the finance director right now?
Thank you.
Yeah. So are we not saving several $1,000s?
Well, I would say this: no, a finance director would be doing much more than what I'm doing. I'm just a little glue. I'm just kind of holding it together.
So compared to where we were even 30 days ago, without this option, without you playing catch up, which I think you have really stepped up to the plate there. But do you have any lack of confidence or reluctance that this isn't a very good deal at $145 an hour?
I am thrilled at the deal.
Thank you. So I don't want to create a scenario where this person that we're contracting with somehow is uncomfortable that it is overstated, and let her do her work and let's support her. You've outlined that very well. I couldn't be happier and more grateful that I think we've just climbed a major mountain here.
And I just want to add too that she has ties to the area.
You're looking long term.
Her partner is actually from Langlis, so we are actually contracting with a semi-local person as well, which is always nice.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments?
I'll move that we approve this contract with consultant, CPA, Summer Sears.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, so we want to handle GA right now.
Sure. So I'm going to just combine these together. So there were 2 items submitted. Like I said, one was accidentally omitted, and that was handed to you this morning. But there's 2 pieces to this proposal. As you recall, our phone systems, we had an issue where they went down, and we were left with the option of having to pay $100,000 for a complete upgrade or doing a repair for a little over $50,000. The board chose to go with the repair for $50-some thousand. The money was not budgeted. We did not have the money in the budget, so I had reached out to Business Oregon for a loan on the phones. This is the paperwork that says, yes, we are going to accept the loan, and then the other one is actually the contract to establish the loan terms. So they are together. They're, like I said, they're sister pieces, but you have it before you. One, like I said, the first order is actually a template from the state where it talks about authorizing the loan from the state, from the Special Works Fund. And then the other one is the second piece is the one approving the contract, the financing contract, which has the terms in it. The terms are, the loan is for $56,625, and it is at 1.77%. And
Cheap money.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Mr. Chair. What was it again?
1.77%.
and it is not to
Puts a
exceed.
smile on your face, doesn't it?
And it is not to exceed 5 years.
Commissioner Gold?
I guess I just have one comment. I hate to see the county borrowing money for anything, and especially for equipment that has gone bad. I think in the budgeting process, this is so important that we budget contingency to replace outdated equipment on a regular basis, and I don't believe this has been done. This is in the strategic business plan, which I think is really good. So anyway.
So just a comment on that. So I have been talking to the department heads, and we've discussed it at a management meeting, the importance to start looking ahead and to start to stop being, I know that we're short-staffed. I know there's not a lot of money, so we're very reactive. But we have to start looking long-term so we're not in these situations. You know, we had the tower situation, we had the server situation, we had the phone situation this year. You will see the budget come forward with some high numbers in some of those areas, such as a server. We need to get that in place. We need to start planning ahead. I will say, however, this fund is set up to help with projects or things that you do not have the money for. So the state was very willing to help with this. It's something they do very routinely for communities. So I don't feel bad about asking them for the money. They were, you know, there's a lot of paperwork involved, but it definitely was something to help us. And I think that if we do run into unexpected projects in the future, instead of borrowing money from the road fund or looking at, we should always remember that this is out there and this is a tool available to help us through these times.
It sounds like it's pretty cheap money too, 1.7%. So, Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. You know, our cities, you've heard me say, and I believe it absolutely true, well managed. However, they do have debts, some of them pretty substantial. The ports do have pretty substantial debts. And the county, despite being cash poor, has not had any debt for years. And I'm certainly in favor of this. We cannot be without phones. And I think we took the right approach to a repair as opposed to a new system. But we are going into debt. And there's been a lot of talk about the road fund reserves. Are we taking? Are we borrowing? We've never borrowed money on an official basis from the road fund reserves. The report I gave earlier on possibly looking at purchasing buildings, if it was structured right, it could be a long-term program to even repay back some of the money that was taken for the road funds, which is a very touchy issue, as you all know. When we did the courthouse windows years ago with Business Oregon, a similar good deal, but it was still tough to pay. We still are having struggles, and I've been to Salem on that, to Oregon Business, and we're barely paying the interest. And they're working with us, and I just flat ask them. I think you may have spoke with them too at some point. I know Commissioner Huxley worked on that pretty hard as well 4 or 5 years ago, to just say, hey, you forego this loan, all things considered. And
I'll do it.
but they were approachable, and they do understand our situation. So back to your comment, concluding here, Mr. Chair, back to your comment that they want to help. They want to work. It is a good program, so it makes it a little less painful. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the loan for the phone system.
I have a second? I'll second. Further discussion?
So just to clarify, that would be to approve the order authorizing the loan from the Special Works Fund and the order for approving the financing contract.
Right.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold?
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce?
Yes.
Chair Pash?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, we are at the top of the hour right now. We're going to take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back at 10:10.
Next big idea, and you need the right place to fine-tune it, build it, launch it. If you're only your best when you can play more than you work, if inspiration comes from the outside, you belong in Curry County. The westernmost point of the land you love, and the edge between familiar and uncharted. Break the pattern. Be where the airports are as close as the beaches, and industry and recreation never cease to amaze. dock, dive, and dine in a single day and never lose your connection. This is the threshold of the West. Live where you can do you and do it well at the farthest point from ordinary. Curry County, living on the edge.
Hi there, I'm Patrick Priest, Executive Director at CIS. And I really enjoy coming every year to this conference because CIS, we are all about counties. We are owned by counties. We were formed by the AOC. This is a great occasion for us to meet everybody in one place and learn what's important to the counties all across Oregon.
It's the networking. I mean, we learn a lot about the different issues that counties deal with, but it's networking with other commissioners, getting ideas on how they handle situations that is the most helpful for me.
I love my job. It actually matters to me on a daily basis. I used to do a lot of charity, and, you know, in commissioning in Deschutes County, you can make a serious difference. Lots of things have happened since I've been in office, and I feel like it's important to represent the people. I grew up in Eastern Oregon, and I love the residents of Eastern Oregon. The architect of our first house actually had Doris Day as a dear friend and a client, and he would bring Doris Day up the mountains in Malibu to our house as it was being built.
This is my fourth conference at AOC. My favorite part is the fellowship with other commissioners and coming up with solutions with common situations and with commissioners from around the state to best serve our people. My favorite part about being a commissioner in Josephine County is the people that we work with. We live in the most beautiful place, but we have the most beautiful people. They are talented, artistic, caring. We have such a high level of philanthropy and just caring for our fellow citizens, and it's the best place in all of Oregon.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Martha Schrader from Clackamas County, Oregon. I'm the current president of the Association of Oregon Counties. And oh my goodness, I've been president for 1 year, but I've been a member of the Association of Oregon Counties since 2003. So one of the reasons I really wanted to be president, and I've enjoyed it so much, is because I get to know everybody across the state, all the commissioners, and I've been from one end of the state to the other, visiting with them, talking with them, and really getting an idea of how we differ, but more importantly, what our similarities are and what we can do with one another to move forward with good county government.
I've been coming to AOC now for 4 years. My favorite part of serving as commissioner is trying to bring positive effects for our community and our county.
This is my second year at AOC, and the camaraderie that I've found in my Eastern Oregon partners and just the camaraderie of AOC has really blessed my life.
My name is Court Boyce, Curry County Commissioner. This is a collection of people, county commissioners, public officials, well attended from all over the state. You know, I have the privilege of working with a very diverse group of people, different ages, different backgrounds, different interests, but they're all teaming up to solve the problems of our county. And it's just really a pleasure to be able to be connected with and working with those people. And better days, good days ahead for our county and our citizens.
Hi, I'm Joe Dabolskis. This is my third AOC convention, and my favorite part is the networking with the people. And the breakout sessions are kind of good because it gives me something to focus on, a goal where I want the county to be in 5 years when my term is up.
Hi, I'm Tillamook County Commissioner Dave Yamamoto. Our county college class was probably was the best county college class ever at AOC. It was the largest at over 33 members. When you look at the legislature and the power that the major metropolitan areas have, the rural counties are oftentimes left out of those conversations. AOC really does a terrific job of representing rural counties and rural interests, and we wouldn't have the impact that we do in Oregon without AOC.
My name is Joe Burney, Lane County Commissioner from Springfield.
My favorite part is eating good food. My second favorite part is meeting with other commissioners, seeing what they're thinking, comparing solutions to problems, learning how nonpartisan solutions really are, and getting ideas. Yes.
Hi, my name is Derek DeGroot, Klamath County Commissioner. So I'm running for second vice president of the Association of Oregon Counties. I believe that our association is perfectly poised to solve problems and bring solutions to Oregon politics and communicate with the legislature about the diversity of Oregon.
I'm Jay Bozovich, and I'm a Lane County Commissioner. And so I've been a commissioner for about 8 years and 11 months. And my favorite part about being a commissioner is this job is different every day.
Hi, my name is Alex Tardif, and I'm a commissioner for Columbia County and currently serving as AOC treasurer in my second year. And the thing I enjoy most about AOC and being the treasurer is the ability to bring 36 counties together to build a state vision, to move our state forward into the future while building a livable, workable community that we all want to enjoy.
One of the things I really appreciate about our entire region is that we embrace who we are, and I think that's what unifies us. Once the timber and fishing industries collapsed, it took us a long time to get back on our feet. People didn't quite grasp the idea that once these jobs left, they weren't going to get other family wage jobs, and it crippled us.
Things were getting really dire. So we just saw that this was an opportunity to maybe look at that public land a little differently and how it could bring more dollars into our region.
The Wild Rivers Coast is so unique because there are more wild and scenic rivers here than anywhere else in the lower 48 states. The scenic beauty is just amazing. There's so many different places to go, from the national forest down to the protected ocean, and it's just a really special place.
I guess I didn't really know how special it was, though, until I moved away to Portland and came back and saw all the potential here.
We're uncrowded, we're unspoiled, and we're a little difficult to get to, but my God, once you come here, you fall in love.
We just thought if we could pull people to come into this Wild Rivers Coast and stay longer and explore a little farther into our backcountry, there was a lot of opportunities for them to experience.
I think our whole future is at stake here. This area is ready to go. We just need to give it a little kick in the butt.
I'm going to be honest, when the Rural Tourism Studio came here, I was skeptical because I didn't see far enough ahead that we actually could collaborate regionally, and I'm pleasantly surprised. It's been amazing.
The Rural Tourism Studios was the first time we were able to come together as a region to talk about the future of our economy.
If we can have a strong tourism economy in this area, it's going to benefit the whole community.
We have to rely on ourselves, and I think through this program, it's sort of opened our eyes to what we could do when we work together. Community leaders really focused on 3 areas: outdoor recreation, food and agricultural tourism, and really building community relationships.
In our area, a lot of the food that's grown all gets shipped away. And so now we're realizing that we can capture some of that local food that's grown here. The Eat Fresh and Local Action Team has hosted a series of networking events bringing together the area growers with the area vendors so that we could have more local food available to the visitors to our area. And now we're seeing more local food in our grocery stores, in our restaurants, and we have a new local food co-op.
We created a farm trail from Bandon to Port Orford. We did 9 U-Pick farms, and it just gained traction, and people loved it.
Langlois is less than 500 people. It's very small. So we have to bring in tourists. And being on the farm trail, even though it's just beginning, has really helped do that. We really want to make it a destination for anybody. My mom and I began Dragonfly Farm just 3 years ago. When I found out that I could grow a seed and turn that into food, it was like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't you do this? I just quit my day job and I just signed the paper to be an official co-owner of the farm. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life and grow with the community.
Out of the Outdoor Recreation Action Team, we came up with a series of maps that show where the best places to go recreate are. We know where we're going to send people now, and we got a great map that shows all the best places to go see.
For us to get a mapping project done to this extent is pretty impressive. We're patting ourselves on the back. I don't know if anybody else is, but we're doing it.
From that, we decided that there was some places that needed help, so we came up with a mountain bike plan, and we also worked on designating a state scenic bikeway. The Outdoor Recreation Action Team was also looking at how we can make scuba diving better in this area. So we came up with the idea for a scuba fill station. So now people that want to come and dive in this area, they can dive for multiple days because they can get their tanks filled up again. When I started the Rural Tourism Studio,
10:09 on February 19th. Before we move forward, I just want to go back to 8C, the order authorizing legal counsel services, outside legal counsel services. We're going to amend the order to put the $15,000 number into the, not to exceed 15,000 on the document itself, so that it's clear to everyone on the order what the intention was. All right.
A consensus, and then you'll sign the order when it comes in.
Thank you. All right, so next we're moving on to 8H, request for proposals for a feasibility study for new courthouse. Ms. Schmelzer.
Yes, so throughout the years, it keeps coming up that we need to do something about the jail and the courthouse. And I know we had plans in 1989 that were drawn up for a new jail, and then we never proceeded with that. In 2009, there was also a report about the condition of the courthouse and how poor it was in. I know there's been concern lately about the bills, the utility bills, $10,000, a month to just provide electricity to the two buildings. So taking all of that into consideration and the fact that we need to be proactive instead of reactive, I put together an RFP, a request for proposals, to have someone start looking